the finish line factory once again, bro, because I don't know how long it's been. I think it's only been a couple of days since I ordered this stuff, but it's already here. Holy shit, that's gonna look so sick inside of the engine bay. And look at that freaking line, bro! Hell yeah, dude! I'm so excited, bro. Like, things are coming together. That big ass rolls for Shiloh, because he's gotta go all the way to the back. Moving on, it's time to work on the engine. And where we left off, dudes, we gotta get the water pump installed, but I did not have any dowel pins. And the thing is, which I didn't know, is that this water pump will not take dowel pins. And through research, and also I started researching it after I read somebody's comment. Sorry, I don't remember exactly whose comment it was, but I guess I would have had to order a water pump that actually comes with the dowel pins. I guess most aftermarket water pumps don't come with them, but if I would have gotten it an OEM water pump, it either would have or would not have came with dowel pins. I don't know, man. Whatever, dude, whatever. You see, here's the dowel pin, and it fits nice and snug inside the block. I have a drill bit here that is the exact same size as this dowel pin because it fits nice and snug inside the block. I can hear it now. No, don't use Honda Bond on the water pump. No, don't do it. No. Where the fuck did I put the dowel pins? Son of a... Boink. And... Oh, no, not that one. Boink. Bam, dude. Just like that. There's no bolts in it. No side to side, up to down movement. Nice and solid, just like it should be. Alright, so my little printout that I made doesn't have the torque specs for the water pump. So I did a quick Google search and it comes up that you're supposed to torque them to like 8.6 foot-pounds. I just went ahead and did the water pump snug, you know what I mean? Just turned it till it was tight and just gave it about like a quarter turn, you know? So what I'm wanting to do next, well, we need to put the timing belt tensioner on and we need to put the crank pulley on. Actually, no. Well, we got to put that little gear that the timing belt goes on, and then the timing belt tensioner, and then get started on the cams. I can't actually put the crank pulley or harmonic balancer or whatever you want to call it. Can't put that on yet because I am going to be needing to degree the cams. And if you guys didn't know, there's a little wheel that goes on right there. This guy. So that thing's gonna have to wait until after we get the cams degreed. Alright, so I need to slide these two rails out of the head. This is what's actually holding the lifters in here, because we need to pull the intake and exhaust lifters from cylinder 1 so that we can put the BBs in there and lock VTEC in order for us to degree the cams. So I've already gotten this one pulled up and I'm gonna pull this one up now, and all I use is just a screw so that I can use the threads of the screw to just kind of grip the threads in there and pull it up just like that. When I have these out before, this pin right here actually comes all the way out. This one doesn't come all the way out. I don't know if it's supposed to be that way or what, but it pulls up and it pushes back down, so I'm not too worried about it. But now what we need to do is actually push those rods through. Use a little screwdriver to just push them a little bit further than what my finger can. Should be pretty close. Oh, still grabbing that one a little bit. Go a little bit further. Alright. Wow. There's the intake side, and here is the exhaust side. Okay, now in this cam degreeing kit, there's a little bag right here, and it's got these little BBs inside of there. And these BBs are what we are going to use to lock VTEC in. Okay, now on these 3 lobes, there's pins on the inside of them. This one right here, you're gonna leave it alone. There is a larger one on the center one here. Gonna leave that one alone as well. What you're looking for is this smaller one that doesn't have the hole in it right there. You want to slide it out, and if it doesn't come out on its own, you can use a magnet. Grab it with a magnet and pull it out. Now in behind here is where we are going to put one of these BBs at. Drop the BB in there, and then we will put the pin back in just like that. So now the pin is sticking out, so whenever we go to put these things back together, you see how it's sticking out there? And that is what is going to be engaging VTEC. So now VTEC is locked on these. So I'll just slide them back in there, and our VTEC is engaged on cylinder 1. So now that's what we need in order to start degreeing our cams. So I'm putting these lifters back in, and I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to get them to line up so we can slide the rod in to hold them. So what I did is I took an extension from the other end. I got the extension pushed through and just wiggled it around to where these things are all straight and lined up using the extension. And now I'm able to slide the rod through, and which pushes my extension out. If you push the rod out a little bit further to where it's protruding on this side now, you can actually spin it until you're able to see this hole. This hole in the rod is what that pin has to actually drop in. So if you push it out a little further, get that hole facing straight up to where it looks like this pin is going to fit, and then you can slide it back in, applying pressure to the pin until it falls into place. Right there, that's where it's got to be. So now we have officially locked VTEC on the exhaust side. You see this side, this is VTEC not locked, and right here VTEC is locked. So now we just have to repeat that same process on the intake side. No, this is spring loaded in here, so the entire time that you were putting this back into the head, this thing is fighting you and trying to separate itself. So you have to pinch down on it nice and tight. You want to make sure that all the gaps between these are closed, because you're not going to get it in there if it looks something like this. You got to have it nice and tight. Man, I genuinely thought that these cam gears were like some no-name like eBays or something. But after cleaning them up, dude, they're freaking Skunk 2s, man. Logo right there, Skunk 2 Racing. I don't know if they're like Tuner Series or Pro Series or anything like that. But that's pretty sick though. Got the Skunk 2 cam gears mounted onto the Skunk 2 Pro 2 cams. And those are basically ready to go in. My stupid little printout, torque spec printout, also doesn't have the torque spec for that. I'll have to look that up. Anyhow, I'm not going to torque them until I actually get them on the engine, and they're a little bit easier to hold on to. Alright, what's next? Timing belt tensioner. That's what this is, right? Yeah? I think so. Yes, timing belt tensioner. And now this little crank sprocket. I don't remember if I talked about this on the video or not, or if it was just on Built Not Bought, but I did have a problem with this that I could not find these little guys, in which I ended up going to Honda. One of these I already had, and I ended up buying 2 more that I can stack like that to use on this sprocket because it has that really long keyway. I do have this one, which came on the Type R, and it has that little key built into it. But I didn't want to risk it being, you know, I just want to do everything correctly. And this is what went with to the machine shop whenever it was balanced. So I want to use this one. And I did put a little bit of anti-seize inside of this guy, just in case we want to get it off later. We don't have any problems. Alright, I think all we are missing now, obviously, are cams and the timing belt, dude. And then we get started on actually degreeing the cams, man. What I am the most excited for, but at the same time the most nervous about. So let's get these cams in. First thing I'm gonna do, now we've already cleaned this 100 times, man. This thing has been cleaned thoroughly quite a few times, but I'm still gonna take a rag with some brake cleaner on it and just go through and wipe all these surfaces down where the cams are gonna be sitting at. Make sure everything is good and clean. Don't wanna take any risks. Now I'm gonna take my Permatex. This is Ultra Slick Assembly Lube, and I'm just gonna lubricate everything that the cam's gonna be touching. All right, with our cams installed and cylinder 1 is now locked in VTEC, we are basically at our starting point for degreeing the cams. Almost, because we still have to get the timing belt on here. Now, in order to find top dead center, I had to actually put this plastic piece on here temporarily, just so that I have the OEM pointer. And then also it has the little, you know, the marks on the crank pulley, so I can find approximately where top dead center is. Now we're not going to trust the OEM top dead center markings. We're going to actually use a piston stop to determine where true top dead center is actually at, and that's what we're going to be doing here next. Now I can go ahead and pull this pulley and this plastic piece back off, and we will be installing our first piece of the cam degreeing tools. This is actually going to get bolted on to the crankshaft. Alright, you want to make sure that this wheel is good and tight, bro, because you do not want that moving around on you, because I mean, you can get halfway through this entire thing, and if this wheel moves, then you're completely thrown off, and you literally have to start all over from the beginning. Because how well you degree your cams is all depending on how well you find top dead center, dude. If you screw this very first part up, everything else is gonna be thrown off from here on out. So now we need to fabricate ourselves up a pointer, and what I'm gonna be using is this baling wire here. You can use a wire hanger. I've seen people use welding rod, what the fuck? Welding rod. Whatever it is that you can find that is, you know, like a wire that you're able to bend, and you don't want this thing to move around once you set it in the place you want it. I'm gonna be installing mine right here where the engine mount bracket actually bolts up. I have a bolt that actually threads into there, and what I did is I grabbed a couple washers that actually fit onto this bolt so that I can sandwich this piece of wire between them. So now we have our pointer attached, and we have it set right at 0, right at the top dead center mark. Well, what we believe is top dead center at the moment, but we are gonna find true top dead center. And what I'm gonna do, since I don't have a piston stop, I'm gonna use this little bracket that actually comes with this kit. This center hole right here lines up directly with the #1 cylinder where the spark plug goes in, because it's set up to use this dial. Now you can find top dead center with this dial, but the best way to do it is to actually set up a piston stop. And what I'm gonna do, since I don't have a piston stop, is I'm just gonna use a bolt that actually fits inside of this guy. So we can get this bolted up onto the head. I can drop this bolt in, have a nut for each side of the plate so that we can stop this wherever it is that we want and actually use it to essentially stop the piston. To start off, you want to dial the crank back just about 15 degrees. So now we are dialed back right at 15 degrees, and that is where we are going to set our piston stop at. Shit, I don't know if this thing is long enough now. Never mind. This is not long enough. Shit! So, my bolt wasn't long enough. That's what she said. So I ran to Home Depot and... Okay, that didn't go as planned. Shit. So I ran to Home Depot and bam! Yeah, I think that'll get the job done. I also bought a bunch of manure because fuck my neighbors, I need grass. Alright, so back where I left off, we're gonna set this plate on here. And I have my piece of all thread. I already put one of the nuts on there. And I'm using a washer. The washer is just simply so that these nuts don't tear up this aluminum plate. So I'll hold this in the position where it would be if it was actually bolted down, because we're not gonna bolt it down just yet. We're gonna drop this piece of all thread down until we're hitting the piston. Now that we're hitting the piston, I'll drop this nut down till it's flush right there. So that's where we need our rod to be at for it to be contacting the piston. In other words, stopping the piston from rotating anymore. And we have it set at 15 degrees. So now what I'm gonna do is pull this out, and I'm gonna put a washer and a nut on this side so that this rod will stay stationary and it's not capable of moving. Alright, I'm just going to turn the crank back just a hair more, because when we are dropping this into the cylinder and tightening this bracket up right here, I don't want this to be applying pressure to my piston, possibly scratching or damaging it or anything like that. Alright, we have our piston stop all set up. So to explain to you exactly what a piston stop does, it's actually quite simple. It stops the piston. See, it stops right there, and we are at 16 degrees before we actually get to top dead center. Now top dead center represents the #1 cylinder. The #1 piston is all the way at the very top of the cylinder. So we are stopping it 16 degrees before it gets to what we have set as our top dead center. So right now our piston stop spinning counterclockwise stops our piston at 16 degrees before we reach this top dead center mark. So if we go clockwise, if we are right in the dead center, it should be 16 degrees after. So when we spin clockwise, do we end up with 16 degrees? No, we do not. That is actually about 22 degrees. Okay, so I'm gonna try to explain this because I know a lot of you guys probably understand what it is I'm saying, but for those of you who don't understand what I'm saying, because it took me a lot of watching different videos and reading write-ups and stuff, going through old forums, for me to collect enough information that I actually understood what it is I'm doing here. This piston is gonna represent our number one piston. And this bolt is gonna represent that piston stop that we put in there. Now, whenever we turn the engine clockwise and the piston comes up and it hits this bolt, it's stopping the piston, right? It's stopping the piston from actually traveling all the way to the top. So when this stops the piston, it's stopping it a certain degree before it can get to the top, and that's the degree that we're gonna find. So when we spin it clockwise, it stops the piston. So then whenever we spin it counterclockwise, the piston goes back down, and as it comes back, raising back up, it stops the piston once again. Now, either direction that it goes, no matter what, this is not moving, so it is stopping the piston the exact same amount. So looking at our degree wheel, one direction is stopped it at 16 degrees, and then when we went back the other direction and brought it back up, it stopped it at 22 degrees. That means that we do not have our top dead center mark at the correct position. Now, to find that correct position is as simple as adding that 16 and the 22 together. You add those two numbers together and then you divide it by 2. You got to find the exact middle, and that's where your top dead center is. All right, now once again, counterclockwise. Going counterclockwise, our piston stopped at 16 degrees before top dead center. 16 degrees before top dead center. Now going clockwise, and that is 22 degrees after top dead center. 22 degrees after top dead center. Now you add these two together and you get 38 degrees. Now that 38 degrees divided by 2 equals 19 degrees. So what that means is 19 degrees is where we want our needle to be pointing at right now with the piston stopped. So if we move this needle to 19 degrees right now, then we should be able to spin this in both directions, and either direction that we go, whether we're going clockwise or counterclockwise, this needle should stop at 19 degrees. And if it does, that means that we have found true top dead center. If we take the piston stop out and then spin this wheel until the needle hits this 0, we know that that is 100% true top dead center. All right, so now with our needle set to 19, we should be able to spin it all the way to the other side, and hopefully we stop at 19. That means we did this correctly. Bam, it's at 19, dude. Oh man, it's so exciting whenever things actually go right. All right, so we're right on the money, dude. Now what I need to do next, obviously, is put the timing belt on. So now we have found true top dead center. So now I gotta try to kind of weasel the damn timing belt in there and hopefully not move anything. Yep, that's me. Look at that smirk on my face, all happy like the remainder of this day isn't gonna turn to absolute shit. Well, let me tell you what. I'm gonna go ahead and skip the next few steps that I went through because honestly, it was a complete waste of time and I'm gonna have to do it all over again. Even though I was doing things correctly, I ran into a problem and I'm going to explain that right now. Well, I gotta be honest with you guys. As much as I want to get this engine done right now, dude, this is like, it's really eating at me. I can't, like, as much as I understand this process, because believe me whenever I say, like, this has been what's been holding me back. I don't want to just run the GSRs. I want to run the Pro 2s because I know it's going to make a huge difference as far as horsepower, torque. It's going to be night and day, bro, running these cams as versus just putting the GSRs in here. And honestly, I think the problem that I'm having right now, I would probably be having with the GSRs as well. So I need to get this figured out. And let me explain to you what is going on here that honestly, I think I'm going to have to do some more research, or I'm going to need to get some kind of help from somebody more experienced. While I might not be very good at explaining this whole degreeing thing, I do have a pretty good understanding of how exactly it's done. Just through all the research and studying basically I've been doing of the entire process. Now, if you look, I have our crank set at top dead center. This is true top dead center because we use the piston stop, and I use that method that I showed earlier to find true top dead center. Now, with true top dead center set, look at my timing marks on my cam gears. Do you see how offset they are? It's these two little lines right here. There's a line there and a line there, if I can get my camera to focus well on it. Okay, now that difference right there with the timing marks on the cams as versus us having it set at top dead center. If you guys have ever done timing before, you know that these are all your timing marks. You gotta line these up and you basically set top dead center, pop your belt on, and you're good, right? Well, that's basically what you want to do here as well. And then from here is where you turn and you find your center of your lobe on your exhaust side and on your intake side, and then you want to adjust your center lobe according to your cam card. There'll be specific adjustments that are recommended to you from the manufacturer of your cams, in which mine are Skunk 2 Pro 2s. I have that information written down. I don't actually have a cam card since I did not purchase these cams brand new, but that information is available on Skunk 2's website. So either way, moving on, I went through the process of measuring from the 0.050 of an inch open, and that same measurement just before. Jesus, sounds like a VQ going by out there. Anyhow, I went through the process of measuring the lobe to find center, and through everything that I found, the amount that this would have to be adjusted is about 12 degrees. Altogether, it's 24 degrees, but you cut that number in half, and that's what you actually adjust your cam gear. And adjusting this 12 degrees, that's a lot, dude. That's a significant amount. And I think that the reason why I have such a large adjustment needed is because of how much these timing marks are off. Now, I mean, obviously throughout the duration of me recording this, I've been back and forth on my computer, and I'm trying to find something that can explain why I'm having this problem. And really I can't find anything. The only thing that I am able to determine that could possibly be going on here is because this head has been milled, the block has been decked, the surface, the amount of area that this timing belt has to travel has been reduced significantly by doing that. So therefore, to be like straight up with you, the timing belt is too long. It's not necessarily too long, but it's basically the length of what a brand new engine would be that hasn't been decked, that hasn't been milled. So that does make a difference And let me show you guys really quick why I think that could be the problem. I'm gonna loosen the timing belt tensioner. I'm doing this while I'm gonna loosen the timing belt tensioner. Okay. Now we're set at top dead center, but I'm gonna spin this until my cams actually line up. So I'm gonna set the camera down really quick. All right, so now with the cams set, now our timing marks on the cam gears are lining up, but of course our top dead center is now off. But if with the timing belt tensioner loose here, I could turn this back to top dead center, okay? So now we're where we should be at. The crank is set at top dead center and my timing marks on the cams are lining up. But the problem obviously is this, is the slop in the belt. And that's the reason why I can't leave it that way. So I can line up all my timing marks where they need to be, but as soon as I take the tension out of this belt, and believe me, I've had this off, I would not be exaggerating if I said 30 times today I've had this timing belt off. I have tried everything. I've tried to move it a tooth in both directions. I have taken the cams, I've lined the cams up, taken the belt completely off, put it back on, you know, tried different tension levels. I've done everything, man. And what I'm thinking I may need is one of those aftermarket belt tensioners that bolt on the front of the block here, and it actually applies pressure on the belt from this side. Maybe you'll be able to take up some slack, and then I could tighten the tensioner without actually having to take up all this slack by moving top dead center. Because right now, even if I tighten the belt, you see, that's too damn loose, man. So I'll tighten the belt, the tensioner with it right there. But that still doesn't matter, because as soon as I go to move the engine, as soon as you move the crank, you see it pulls that slack. So now my crank just moved about 5 degrees. See that? The crank moved 5 degrees before the cams have even started moving. And then not only that, obviously the dangers of running your belt that loose, you can possibly jump timing. Like, I don't know, man. I went back and forth to the write-up that I'm following to do this whole process. There's a couple of them, man. And then there's videos on YouTube. While they're not very detailed, and there's a lot of stuff missing from them that, you know, I've had to figure out myself along the way. Only thing I can say is I feel confident that I am doing everything correctly here, but I am having an issue that I believe is able to be resolved, but I can't find anything online about it. So what I am more than likely gonna have to do, hopefully one of you guys know what's up and you can help me out here. That would be huge, man. I'd really appreciate that. Like, I genuinely wish I had somebody with the knowledge of doing this that can come to my freaking house like right now and help me out, but there's nobody that I know of. So I kind of built up hype about Monday, the motor's gonna be done and everything, but dude, I just lost, bro. Like, shit, I don't know. Either way, dude, it's now freaking like, I want to say 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. I have literally been doing this since about 9 o'clock this morning. I have been working on this like straight through the entire freaking day. Like, I've had 3 headaches, okay, that have come and gone, and it's just this is nerve-wracking, bro. Like, holy crap. Sorry to end this video on such, kind of
on a bad note, I guess you can say. Well, not really, man. I mean, this stuff happens. You guys all know this stuff happens. We all go through this. Get it figured out. We're gonna get it figured out, and we're gonna move forward past this, obviously. But you know, I gotta do it right. It's gotta be done right. Otherwise, all the effort, all the time, all the money spent, you know, a lot of this stuff you guys have gifted to me, you know, and I don't want to see it go to waste because I'm trying to hurry up and get through this process. I want it done right, man. I just want it done right, and I don't know. We'll get it all figured out, man. So peace out, guys, and I don't know exactly what my next video is going to be about. We got all the fuel line and stuff in. There are a couple of 90s that are back ordered that are going to be coming this week. I'm sure, yeah, they're going to be coming this week. Shiloh doesn't have an update quite yet. He's got to get a few more things, and then we're going to be doing some more wiring on his car. Got to run some fuel line on his car, and yeah, I can't do anything to the Civic until we get this figured out, to be straight up with you. So there might be some E36 content coming up, and I hope you guys can find it deep down inside of you to kind of continue with all the support that you guys have been giving me, even through the E36 videos, man. Because remember, that's something I'm capable of doing, and providing content for you guys on my downtime whenever I can't necessarily do something with the Civic or the 2J. And the more you guys watch my videos, the more you guys hit that like button, obviously it helps out tremendously towards getting this kind of stuff done. I'm just gonna keep rambling and keep rambling, so I'm gonna end it here. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you on the next one, which will probably be a BMW video.